You know that feeling when a hyped up game update drops and instead of cheers, you hear groans?
Yeah, definitely.
That's kind of the vibe around the latest for Tekken 8. Forget excitement. It seems Season 2 has landed more like a knockout blow. Well, to player satisfaction anyway.
Precisely. And for this deep dive, we've been poring over the player reaction. We've gathered about 260 user reviews posted between April 26th and May 5th.
Okay.
It's a significant snapshot, really, from the 2,864 total reviews that month.
Uh-huh.
And alongside that, we've tracked the buzz, or maybe the backlash, across gaming news sites and social media.
Right. So our dive today has a real laser focus. What's fueling this negative response to Season 2? Why are players, so unhappy? And what can this tell us about their connection to the game right now?
Well, let's start with the raw numbers, because they kind of tell a story straight away. Looking at our review sample, the sentiment is overwhelmingly negative.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing just 50 positive reviews against a staggering 210 negative ones.
Wow, 210 negative.
Exactly.
Wow.
That stark difference immediately raises some, well, pretty serious questions.
It absolutely does. And here's where things get really interesting, maybe even a little counterintuitive, right?
Uh-huh.
Our source looked into how much time these reviewers had actually spent playing the game. You'd maybe expect the less dedicated players, the newer ones, to be the quickest to complain, right?
That's a very reasonable assumption. I mean, that's what you'd think initially.
Yeah.
But the data suggests, well, otherwise. For those who left positive reviews, the median playtime is around 65 hours,
Okay, 65.
and the average is about 169 hours. Now, when we look at the negative reviews,
Mm-hmm.
the median playtime jumps to over 210 hours.
210?
Yep, and the average climbs even higher to roughly 285 hours.
Wait a minute, seriously. So the players who are saying they don't like the update have actually put in more time on
That's
average.
what the sample suggests, yeah.
That completely flips my initial thinking. Why would that be?
It does challenge that first thought, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
One possibility, and perhaps a compelling one, is that these experienced players,
The ones with the high hours.
right, the ones who've dedicated significant time mastering the game's intricacies, they're probably far more attuned to subtle shifts.
Hmm.
Changes in balance or new mechanics that might disrupt the gameplay they've really learned.
Ah, okay. So they notice things a casual player might just miss.
Exactly. They might be more critical of issues that a newer player wouldn't even recognize as, well, an issue.
That makes a lot of sense.
Another angle is maybe even if newer players did encounter problems quickly, perhaps the core Tekken experience itself, the fun of it, still held enough appeal for them to leave a positive review, even if it's less detailed.
Right, right. If you've truly mastered a game, you're going to be much more sensitive to anything that feels even slightly off. But it's not a completely clear-cut picture then, is it?
No, not at all.
You mentioned there were still some positive reviews from players with less playtime, too.
Absolutely. And that's a crucial reminder that playtime isn't the only lens here. Individual preferences, what they were hoping the update would fix, or maybe just their basic enjoyment of Tekken's core gameplay, those likely play significant roles too.
Okay, so we've established the overall vibe is negative, and maybe surprisingly, often coming from the more, let's say, hardcore players. Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Let's do it.
What are the specific reasons behind this dissatisfaction? What are players actually complaining about?
Well, the overarching sentiment, as the source highlights it, is a strong feeling that Season 2 has, to put it bluntly,
Yeah.
broken the game. That's a powerful statement,
Oof. Yeah, it is.
and it covers a whole range of connected issues.
Such as, give us the specific.
Okay, well, right at the forefront are significant concerns about game balance. Players are reporting that certain characters now feel, well, overwhelmingly powerful.
Ah, the classic OP character problem.
Exactly. Leading to matches that just feel unfair and frankly frustrating. There are discussions about specific moves or abilities being too strong, maybe lacking effective counters. This kind of thing can really undermine the competitive integrity that longtime players value so much.
Yeah, nobody enjoys feeling like they're losing, not because they were outplayed, but just because the game's stacked against them from the character select screen. What other issues are fueling this?
Another major area of complaint is around the ranked match system.
Okay, ranked mode.
Players are expressing real frustration with how the ranking system functions. They feel it doesn't accurately reflect their skill, or maybe they're just constantly getting matched against opponents way outside their league.
Oh yeah, that can be incredibly demotivating. If the ladder doesn't feel fair, why climb it?
Precisely. It erodes the desire to even engage with the competitive side of the game.
And it sounds like it's not just about how the game plays, but also maybe the technical side of things, stability and stuff.
Exactly. Technical problems are also adding quite a bit to the negative feeling. Players are reporting various bugs.
Like what kind of bugs?
Well, the source mentions things from minor glitches to more significant stuff, and also server instability, connection issues, lag,
Oh, lag. Worst.
which directly impacts their ability to just have a smooth, enjoyable game session. Dealing with crashes or serious lag is frustrating for anyone. Doesn't matter how many hours you have.
Right. And it seems like all these things, the balance, the ranked problems, the bugs, they're feeding into something bigger, like a breakdown in trust.
That's a really critical point, yes. The source highlights comments suggesting a growing feeling that the developers aren't really listening to community feedback.
Oh, dear.
Or maybe that updates addressing the key concerns are just too slow coming. This erosion of trust can be particularly damaging for a game like Tekken, which relies so heavily on an active, engaged player base.
So it's a perfect storm, kinda. Perceived imbalances, busted ranked system, technical glitches messing things up, and this feeling that player feedback is just going into the void.
It paints a worrying picture, yeah.
But hang on, the source did note there was some positive feedback, right? Even if it was a smaller slice of the pie.
That's true, yeah.
What were those players saying?
Well, amidst all the negativity, there were definitely those positive comments. Some players just stating their, enduring love for Tekken as a franchise.
Tekken is life sort of thing.
Kind of, yeah. Or just declaring it the best fighting game. It suggests that the core appeal of Tekken 8 is still strong for some people.
Okay.
Perhaps they're the ones who haven't been as affected by the specific issues others are hitting, or maybe their enjoyment of the fundamental punch-kick loop outweighs the current update frustrations for them.
It's a good reminder that experiences can vary wildly, even with the same update. Now, you also mentioned looking beyond just the in-game reviews. What did, news outlets and social media chatter add to this?
Well, the external sentiment largely reinforces what we're seeing in those user reviews.
Yeah.
There's a pretty noticeable backlash on platforms like X, Twitter.
Oh, I bet.
Lots of critical opinions, heated discussions about the Season 2 changes. And reports also indicate that user review scores on aggregator sites like Metacritic have dipped.
Okay, so it's showing up there, too.
Yeah, mirroring the negative trend in our sample. And within the player community itself, say on Discord servers, there are anecdotes of increased division and arguments about the update.
So this isn't just a small vocal minority, then. The negative reaction seems pretty widespread across different parts of the community.
Precisely. When you put all these pieces together, the user reviews focusing on gameplay and technical stuff, the negative buzz online, the lower scores, the overall picture is quite clear.
Yeah.
Season 2 of Tekken 8 has largely been met with disappointment by a significant portion of the player base. The key drivers really seem to be those perceived imbalances, the ranked system issues, ongoing technical problems, and, that concerning lack of trust in the devs.
Okay, let's just quickly recap that. So players are largely unhappy with this latest update.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, the loudest critics often seem to be the ones who've sunk the most time into the game.
That's the trend in the data we looked at.
And the main complaints boil down to game balance feels off, ranked mode is frustrating, technical issues are messing with gameplay, and there's a sense their feedback isn't being heard.
That sums it up nicely.
Hmm?
And looking forward, based on the source's analysis, it really feels imperative for the development team to take this feedback seriously and, act quickly.
Right. What needs to happen?
Well, addressing those perceived balance issues seems critical. Careful adjustments, implementing meaningful improvements to ranked, fixing the technical stuff, those should probably be top priorities.
And it really sounds like rebuilding that trust with the player community is just as crucial, maybe even more so in the long run.
Absolutely. Transparent communication is key here. Talking about the steps they're taking, showing they're addressing concerns with demonstrable action. That'll be vital to prevent more players leaving and maybe win back some who are feeling let down right now.
Yeah, ignoring these widespread issues could really hurt the game's health long term.
Definitely. Player churn is a real risk.
So here's something maybe for you, the listener, to consider. In a game like this, one that's always evolving with updates, how do developers navigate that incredibly tricky challenge? Introducing new stuff while keeping that delicate balance that satisfies their core, really dedicated players.
The tough tightrope to walk.
And maybe think about how much The time we invest in a game shapes our own expectations and how we react to changes. It seems like the more deeply we engage, the more strongly we might feel about it all, for better, or sometimes for worse.